Good morning. Are you wondering if moving your 401k into a Roth IRA is the smartest move for your retirement? You are not alone. This is one of the most common questions we get. And the answer isn't as simple as a yes or a no. We're going to cover today's topic, which is it smart to move your 401k to a Roth IRA? As always, go ahead and type over any questions you have during today's daily webinar, and we'll go ahead and go over those questions. It doesn't have to be in particular to today's topic. It can be regarding any aspect of solo 401ks and even self-directed IRAs. As always, please subscribe to today's video, like our YouTube channel so that you receive notifications when we go live. We generally go live at least once a day. Today we'll be going live twice. So now and a second time at 1 p.m. Pacific time. Okay, so let's get started with today's topic. Is it smart to move your 401k to a Roth IRA? So why do people consider the move? Well, one is you may have left your former employer and you no longer want to keep your retirement funds in that former employer 401k. So you can transfer that former employer 401k to a self-directed IRA. If that former employer 401k holds Roth 401k funds, those can also be transferred to the self-directed Roth IRA. For those who are self-employed and you qualify for a self-directed solo 401k plan, that's another option. That is to move that former employer 401k as a trusted transfer to that solo 401k so that it's non-taxable. That way, those funds will continue to be tax sheltered under that solo 401k plan. And the solo 401k plan offered by my solo 401k financial does allow for income and transfers from former employer Roth 401ks, as well as former employer pre-tax 401k funds. So that's one of the reasons people consider moving their former employer 401k to a Roth IRA or to the Roth Solo 401k plan. Of course, in order to open a Solo 401k plan, you have to qualify because a Solo 401k is for owner-only businesses that do not employ any full-time common law non-owner W-2 employees who work 1,000 hours or more. Now, Roth IRAs they do offer powerful retirement benefits. So another instance where it might be a smart move to transfer a 401k to a Roth IRA is if you are no longer self-employed. So just like if you stop being a W-2 employee for your full-time employer, you can transfer those former employer funds out to a Roth IRA or a traditional IRA. Same scenario with someone who is self-employed and has a solo 401k plan. Once you stop or cease being self-employed, the expectation from the government is to close that solo 401k plan. So instead of distributing your Roth solo 401k funds or your pre-tax solo 401k funds, those funds can be transferred to a Roth IRA and a traditional IRA from that pre-tax solo 401k and the Roth solo 401k. And that's how you can continue to preserve those Roth funds by transferring them to a Roth IRA. Another instance where we see clients transferring solo 401k funds to a Roth IRA is when they utilize the mega backdoor Roth solo 401k strategy, which entails making voluntary after-tax solo 401k contributions and then immediately converting those funds to the Roth solo 401k or the Roth IRA. Many clients convert them to the Roth IRA. So that's another instance. It's been performing the mega backdoor Roth solo 401k strategy. So again, with the mega backdoor Roth solo 401k strategy, you make voluntary after-tax solo 401k contributions to the solo 401k plan. And then you immediately convert those either to the Roth solo 401k or the Roth IRA. Under either scenario, it's not a taxable event when the bases are converted to the Roth solo 401k or the Roth IRA. However, the gains, which is typically small amounts since they're often converted right away, the gains would be subject to taxes if those are also converted to the Roth solo 401k or the Roth IRA. Looks like we've got a question here. Let's pause and take a look at that question and we'll jump back in. Got a question here from Phil. Is it possible to transfer IRA Roth to solo 401k Roth? Good question. Unfortunately, not currently. Congress has not changed the regulations. So when Congress promulgated the Roth IRA and the Roth 401k regulations, they opted to not allow for the transfer of a Roth IRA to a Roth 401k, including a Roth solo 401k. So that's a Roth IRA restriction. It's not a Roth solo 401k restriction. Therefore, unfortunately, because the Roth IRA regulations do not allow for the transfer of a Roth IRA to a Roth solo 401k, you would not be able to transfer that Roth IRA to the Roth solo 401k plan. You can learn more about that restriction in IRS publication number 590, which is the IRS publication for IRAs, including Roth IRAs. Another type of IRA that cannot be transferred to a Roth solo 401k is a non-deductible IRA, where you make a non-deductible IRA contribution. You can never transfer those bases to a Roth solo 401k, but you can transfer the gains to the pre-tax solo 401k from that non-deductible IRA and then convert that non-deductible IRA to a Roth IRA. So again, it's a Roth IRA regulation that it cannot be transferred to a Roth solo 401k, but of course you can go from a Roth solo 401k to a Roth IRA, provided you meet a triggering event. Okay, let me see if I can dig up a link that I can send over regarding that Roth IRA transfer restriction. There it is. I went ahead and just share that with you here. So go ahead and type over your questions regarding any topic. It doesn't have to be specific to today's topic, and we'll go over those questions. In the meantime, we'll continue with our presentation here, which is it smart to move your 401k to a Roth IRA? And we've been discussing that at great detail. So one of the advantages of a Roth IRA, and therefore transferring 401k funds like Roth 401k funds, or so a Roth 401k from a former employer plan, for example, or even Roth solo 401k funds. So I'm talking here about not voluntary after-tax solo 401k funds, which we just talked about, and we confirmed those could be converted to the Roth IRA or the Roth solo 401k. Now we're talking about moving funds from your Roth solo 401k to a Roth IRA. So in order to move a Roth solo 401k to a Roth IRA, you have to meet a triggering event. You either have to be age 59 and a half or no longer self-employed. In which case, if you're no longer self-employed, the plan has to be closed down and then transferred to that Roth IRA, so that way you can continue to preserve those Roth solo 401k funds in that Roth IRA. So that's important to understand for those seeking to transfer Roth solo 401k funds to a Roth IRA. Those have different regulations. As you can see, there are different regulations that apply for different types of funds moved from a former employer 401k or even a solo 401k plan. When you have funds in a Roth IRA, those funds are growing tax-free. Just like they grow tax-free in a Roth 401k or a Roth solo 401k, they also grow tax-free in a Roth IRA. And then you can distribute those funds from a Roth IRA, typically under certain events. For example, you can always distribute the contributions that you make to a Roth IRA. On the other hand, if you want to distribute funds that were transferred to that Roth IRA from a Roth solo 401k, you have to meet certain triggering events, such as age 59 and a half and having had a Roth IRA for 5 years so that the gains are not taxable. We've talked about the Roth IRA and the Roth solo 401k distribution rules in prior webinars, so you can visit our YouTube channel to view those past webinars. Just like Roth solo 401k plans, Roth IRAs are not subject to require minimum distributions. So again, if you're no longer self-employed, you are required to close that solo 401k. And if you have Roth solo 401k funds, those can be transferred to a Roth IRA. And it's good to know that you don't have to require minimum distributions from that Roth IRA, just like you're not required to do so from a Roth solo 401k once you reach age 73. That's the required minimum distribution triggering age, where you're required to start taking distributions from traditional IRAs and pre-tax solo 401k funds, but not from Roth IRAs or Roth solo 401k funds. Now, with the Roth IRA, upon your death, so upon the death of the Roth IRA participant, the funds will flow to the beneficiary of that Roth IRA. So if your spouse is the beneficiary, if your surviving spouse is the beneficiary of that Roth IRA, you can choose to have those Roth IRA funds transferred to her own Roth IRA. And that way, she's not going to have to take any distributions out from that Roth IRA. Or another option is she can start taking distributions from their Roth IRA. It'll be tax-free distributions because those are Roth IRA funds. Now, with the Roth solo 401k upon your death, the funds will flow to the surviving spouse as well if you're married. So with the Roth solo 401k funds, those funds would get transferred to a Roth IRA for the benefit of that spouse, of the surviving spouse. So not for the benefit, but rather it will be her own Roth IRA. And once those funds are in that Roth IRA, then the surviving spouse can continue with that Roth IRA. Or she can make distributions. Now, if the beneficiary of that Roth solo 401k is a non-spouse beneficiary, so let's say you're not married, or you got spousal consent, and you named your children as the beneficiaries of that Roth solo 401k, upon your death, the Roth solo 401k funds will flow to beneficiary Roth IRAs for those surviving children. So they'll have their own what's referred to as a beneficiary Roth IRA. And depending on their age, they're going to have to start taking Roth IRA distributions over a 10-year period. It depends whether at the time that you passed away, you were age 73 or older or younger, as to whether or not those surviving children will have to start taking distributions from their beneficiary Roth IRAs. For example, if you were age 73 or older at the time of your death, and your children were the primary beneficiaries of your Roth solo 401k, the children would transfer those Roth solo 401k funds to their respective beneficiary Roth IRAs, and they would have to start taking distributions by December 31st following your year of death over a 10-year period. So they got to take distributions each year for a total of 10 years. On the other hand, if you passed away before age 73, then those funds, those Roth Solo 401k funds would still be transferred to the Roth beneficiary IRAs for your children, but they would not have to take distributions from that Roth IRA until 10 years later. So they wouldn't have to start taking them out over a 10-year period. So each year up to 10 years, instead, they can wait 10 years before they empty out those beneficiary Roth IRAs. Also, looks like we have another question here. Now, this last point there about your decision depends on your current tax and future tax situation. That's referring really more to converting pre-tax solo 401k funds to a Roth IRA. So just like you can convert pre-tax solo 401k funds to a Roth solo 401k, you can also convert pre-tax funds, pre-tax solo 401ks to a Roth IRA. However, in order to convert pre-tax solo 401k funds to a Roth IRA through a conversion, you have to meet a triggering event such as age 59 and a half or no longer self-employed. Or you can transfer or convert funds that you transfer to the pre-tax solo 401k from a former employer 401k or thrift savings plan or defined benefit plan or 457b plan or 403b plan, as well as traditional IRAs. If those funds were transferred to the pre-tax solo 401k, those particular funds can also be converted to the Roth solo 401k or to the Roth IRA. But in order to convert them to the Roth IRA, you have to, again, meet a triggering event. So to review, you have to be age 59 and a half or older. That's one triggering event. Second triggering event is no longer being self-employed, in which case you're going to have to close the solo 401k plan. And the third triggering event is if you have any funds in that pre-tax solo 401k that were previously transferred in from a former employer 401k or traditional IRA, simple IRA, or SEP IRA. Okay, it looks like we have another question here. Go ahead and subscribe to our channel, like today's video to help get the word out to other solopreneurs like yourself. We've been talking about, is it smart to move your 401k to a Roth IRA? We've got a question here. Is there a cost involved from after-tax voluntary after-tax contribution to Roth IRA? Can this be transferred to any Roth IRA? So when you convert the voluntary after-tax solo 401k contribution as part of the mega backdoor Roth strategy to if you convert that to the Roth IRA, then a Form 1099-R has to be issued to report the non-taxable conversion of voluntary after-tax solo 401k funds to the Roth IRA. And again, you'll want to convert it right away so that there are minimal gains. Just the gains that you convert to the Roth IRA will be taxable, and that'll be reported on Form 1099-R. We don't charge additional fees to report conversions as long as you timely request them. So the conversion is reported for the year in which the funds were actually moved to the Roth IRA or the Roth Solo 401k from the voluntary after-tax Solo 401k bucket. So make sure to complete our online conversion form if you're a client of my Solo 401k Financial so that we collect the necessary information to issue that Form 1099-R. And the Form 1099-R is issued the following year, typically in January, February. So any conversions processed in 2025 will need to be reported on that Form 1099-R for 2025 that gets issued January, February of 2026. I just shared a link to our Forms tab. There you can find an online form you would fill out to request that Form 1099-R when you process a conversion. Same thing if you transfer funds out of the solo 401k or take a distribution. Those are reportable events on a Form 1099-R. Okay, let's see here. We might have another question here. Is the message board login details the same as when you sign up for my solo 401k? So We have the My Community website, and all are free to join. There you can request to be added. You can go to the My Community and submit information to join the community, and then we'll approve you and you'll be added. Also, if you want to receive notifications as to when we go live on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to today's channel. And then if you want to open a solo 401k, you would go to our open account page. Here's a link to our community. If you want to open a solo 401k, you would go to our open account section of our website to open that. All right. Looks like we're coming towards the end of our webinar here. Again, thanks you for joining. So we talked about conversions. Anytime you convert pre-tax solo 401k funds to a Roth IRA or the Roth solo 401k, you're going to have to pay federal taxes. On that conversion, you have to pay those federal taxes with outside funds, so personal funds. And it might bump you into a higher tax bracket because when you convert pre-tax solo 401k funds to a Roth IRA or a Roth solo 401k, those funds are taxed at the earned income tax rates. So you want to consider whether taxes are going to be lower when you make distributions later from the Roth solo 401k or the Roth IRA when deciding to process a conversion. Because if you process a conversion of pre-tax solo 401k funds, the trade-off is that, well, you have to pay taxes now on the amount converted. All those gains will grow tax-free inside the Roth solo 401k or the Roth IRA. So from a timing perspective, it's probably best to process conversions of pre-tax solo 401k funds to the Roth IRA or the Roth solo 401k in years that you'll be in a lower tax bracket. All right, we've come to the end of our session. Thank you for joining today's daily webinar. We'll be live again here in a couple hours. Until next time, have a great rest of the day.